Welcome back to the channel today, guys. Now, yesterday was an awful day. It was terrible, guys. I had a lot of bad things happen, frankly, just one after another consistently, and it sucked. And I don't normally do this, like, you know, guys, I never do this, but go check out my last video if you guys haven't seen it yet. I would really appreciate it. It was a pain in the ass to get out. But today's a new day, and we have a new episode of said show today. And we are finally caught up to Spy Classroom, guys. We are finally caught up. Even if it is only for one day, it still counts. But this episode today was a totally different vibe than we've had already. Now that we have all the characters revealed, it was a totally different vibe. And this was the first time we actually heard the ending and opening, which is wild. I hadn't even thought of that until going into this episode. When they started to play, I was like, wait a minute. I haven't seen this yet. What? It's kind of wild that we waited till episode 4 to get them, but I like them, actually. I actually like them both. I think they're catchy. I think they're pretty solid openings for the most part. And we get an episode focused on Erna today, which I'm happy about because obviously she was just introduced in the last episode and we don't know anything about her. So I was excited for this a little bit. So let's just get straight into it and talk about Spy Classroom episode 4 today. So we begin our episode today with more of a somber tone, honestly, as we see Klaus at a graveyard as he says, "I'm back. Sorry I took so long." And as we see, he came to talk to his fellow or former Inferno members. He tells them, "I finished the impossible mission, but there was a lot I failed to achieve." And as he puts the ring case in the ground, he says, "I hope you don't mind me burying you here, Master, even if all I have of you is a finger." As Klaus says, "You're all here?" And we see that all the girls are standing there with him. And it's here Klaus decides to say some parting words to his team and to his master as he says, "Master, the 9 of us are a new team called Lamplight, and we're going to pick up where Inferno left off. I hope you're watching over us." And while it is a somber scene, it's a needed one because it's hopefully bringing Klaus closure. But it's here we actually transition to 20 days before the impossible mission, as we see all the girls gathered around still trying to figure out ways to take down Klaus. This guy, man. And it's here as we see Lily trying to pump everyone up and try to get them all closer so they can strengthen their bonds of friendship. Monica asks Erna what she thinks of all that, and she just tells them flat out, all this talk about bonds is just platitudes. Spies can't afford to give out their trust that easily. As she tells them, "I'm going to go for a walk," and leaves. But it's here as we transition to her on that walk. She thinks to herself, you know, I didn't really mean it like that. I might have come off a bit rude. I just wanted to remind them that it's a spy's job to doubt everything. I would imagine that's the first line in the spy textbook, guys. They all keep talking about friendship, but I don't feel close to them yet. Especially with how I showed up late. But it's here all of a sudden we hear, "Hey kid, hold up a sec," as we see 3 goons come out. And that's how you know you're in an anime. You're watching an anime when you see 3 stereotypical goons come out. As they tell her, "Looking at those nice clothes you got, I'd say you're a member of the Borgios. You mind coming with us?" You can think of it as an act of philanthropy as we see more goons show up. And it's here we just hear Erna say, "How unlucky," as she walks up to the guy and says, "Can we go this way?" As we see she leads them to a dead end. And when she gets there, she again says, "How unlucky. Just like my whole life has been." Damn. I get dragged into them day in and day out. Accidents, tragedies, calamities. But it's let me kind of sense them. I can tell when and where misfortune will strike. As the goons are just looking at her like, what the hell is this kid talking about here? She's going crazy. What's she talking about? As Erna says, "I'm codenamed Fool. And it's time to kill with everything." As we see, she led them to a spot where a bunch of bricks were falling, and they get crushed by all this debris. How convenient. And as she's looking down at the rubble, she just says, "Goodbye, mister. Guess we're not going to be friends," and walks off. But it's here as we see her head back to the mansion, we actually see her tell Lily that, "I'll carry out the next attack solo, the attack on Klaus. I want the rest of you to help from the sidelines." As Lily asks her, "Are you sure you can handle that?" And Annette comes out of nowhere and says, "Yo, she'll be fine, my diggity dog." We went to the same academy for a while, so I know the rumors. As she says, Erna's a really unlucky girl. That's why she'll be fine. And as we flash back to her time at the academy, Annette says, someone I know got into an accident, yo, my dog. That's why our friend got transferred. And as we transition back, we see that Erna dipped out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, why would you say that, Annette? Why would you say that to her face? That's kind of messed up. That's actually rude. But it's here we actually get a somber moment with Erna as we hear her say, bad things happen to the people around me. And if they died, it was written off as an accident. The way I specialize in accidents and misfortune makes me the perfect assassin. As she says that I'm actually a horrible person. And as we flash back, we see a burning mansion, I imagine, as we see two people inside. I assume a burned alive, as she gets her resolve and says, I'll overpower Teach. Then everyone will respect me and compliment me and not abandon me. And I gotta say, it's a little depressing in a way. It kind of is. I'm sitting here like, damn, this is a little heavy. But it's here as we transition to the next day. We see our boy Klaus walking around as Erna just happens to run into him as he tells her, yeah, Lily tripped over my paint last night, so I had to replace it for the 5th time. Fucking Lily. As he asks her if it's just her here, and she says, yeah, it's my turn to go shopping for everybody. Everyone else is training to get ready for the next attack. On you, of course. As he tells her, I'll be sure to look forward to it and overcome it for you guys. And then we get some awkward silence. The best kind, of course. As Erna's like, man, I kind of need to continue this conversation if I'm going to lure him in. But it's here we see Klaus continues it as he says, what is it you're buying? And as she starts rambling off a bunch of things to get him to go with her, he says, wow, that sounds like a lot to carry, huh? On your own? I'll come help. And as they start heading to their next destination, Erna says, I'm sorry, but you're about to be struck by misfortune, Teach. But it's here, in typical anime fashion, we see a car going out of control and about to crash into someone. Klaus, per se, as Klaus literally backflips over it, literally does a vault over the car. Because of course he does. He's Klaus. As this man lands and says, well, that was dangerous. As Erna says, Teach, are you okay? That kind of stuff don't happen every day. As he says, I've never been better. As he tells her, I punctured its tire. If it had kept going like that, it could have killed someone. As Klaus says, the police can handle the rest. This ain't our job. It ain't my problem. And as they're walking, Erna's like, it's okay. I still smell some misfortune around here. Something bad's gonna happen. And it's here we see all the wacky hijinks that happens around town. And some of it ranges from, okay, that's plausible, and some are just flat out ridiculous. But it made me laugh, as Erna's just like, yo, Klaus is an actual factual monster. What the hell? But it's here as we transition to the end of the day, Klaus is like, alright, this is the last item you needed. As she says, that might be right, but there's still places I want to go to. As Klaus tells her, alright, I think this farce has gone on long enough. He knows what's been going on all day. He's not stupid. As he tells her, the teachers at your academy told me about your ability. They called you a girl who attracts misfortune. And upon hearing Klaus say that, she looks terrified. But it's here we transition to another flashback of her past as we hear, you have a predisposition for bad luck. At least that's how I'm referring to it for the sake of convenience. No condition that unscientific actually exists, so perhaps I should call it intropunitive ideism. Intropunitive ideation. That's a hard thing to pronounce. I remember hearing about that mansion fire, and about the young girl who was its sole survivor. The incident made you fixated on the idea that it was unfair that only you got to live. So, you seek out punishment. Your subconscious snips out misfortune and guides you to it, like a dog. And I kind of like that they gave us this scene, even by a scientist, because it's still kind of goofy in a way, you know, her, like, ability. That it's just misfortune. It just feels very random in a pretty grounded show so far. It just feels very weird, so I'm glad they kind of addressed that a little bit. But it's here as we transition back to them. We see they haven't gone back home yet. As she says, I told you, I'm a horrible person. But Klaus just tells her, people really misunderstand you, don't they? I'll tell you what's really unlucky. That a girl with your talents never got the respect she deserved for them. As he says, the way I see it, you're the luckiest girl there is. A lot of people all got saved thanks to you. As he says, that runaway car could have hit another pedestrian. The people on the street could have been splashed by that stew fell over. Goofy, but it can happen. That mad dog with his tongue hanging out could have bit a child. And these very silly bricks could have fallen on that woman. But she denies it, telling him, I'm bad luck, an ill omen, and detestable. That's a triple threat. As she tells him, you've been spending time with a demon who drowns people in misfortune. As Klaus tells her, well, I certainly haven't drowned, have I? But it's here all of a sudden, it looks like she gets a bad omen or a premonition because she looks very troubled. As she says, if I tell him, he's probably going to leave me. But she does decide to tell him, as she says, Teach, would you mind following me somewhere? And it's here as we transition to the next scene. They appear to be at the docks for some reason, as Klaus says, I assume you're aware, Erna, but we're surrounded right now. As Klaus asks, who's there? And we see a bunch of armed men come out, as they say, don't move an inch, we've got a hostage. As one of them says, no way a councilman's daughter runs away and leaves a constituent to die, yeah? As Klaus tells Erna, they seem to have confused us for someone else. They're fucking tripping. But I doubt we can convince them of that. As Erna asks him, can you take them out? And Klaus actually says, I can't. As he surrenders and says, the part about them having a hostage is true. We'll have to just go along with their demands. And as Erna tries to contact the team, she drops and breaks the transmitter to them. This girl really is unlucky. Jeez. And it's here as we transition to their stereotypical hideout in the woods. We hear Klaus say, we're tied up, there are no windows, and the guards are armed. Sounds like a Monday to me. As Erna says, I'm sorry, Teach. This is all my fault. I always bring misfortune to people. I drag them in, and they get hurt. I should just stay away from everyone. And it's here we hear, yo, the big boss man's here. Better go see him. And as we see him, it's the same jabroni from earlier. Who tried to kidnap her earlier. This man just needs a cat on his lap, and it'd be the perfect stereotype. I'd love it. As he tells Klaus and Erna, you know, I was planning to just run you over. As they realize, so you're behind that runaway car. You're a horrible driver. As he adds, but then, I heard some interesting info that made me want to kidnap you instead. And it's here as he walks closer to them, Klaus tells him flat out, don't touch her. If you let us go right now, I'm prepared to overlook all this. As he punches Klaus in the face and says, I don't know if you're some kind of hotshot bodyguard or what, but you need to learn to shut the hell up. As Klaus tells him again, I'll give you one more warning. Don't you lay your filthy hands on her. As the boss says, change of plans. I wasn't going to kill you because I heard you'd make a bargaining chip. Screw that. As we see, Klaus has just had enough as he says, where exactly did you get this nonsensical, wildly inaccurate intel of yours? As he says, wait, did it come from a teenage girl? And as we see him shoot Klaus, how he misses somehow? How? I don't know. As Klaus uses the chains to block it and does a fucking backflip from laying on his back. And tells them, magnificent. As Klaus tells them, this is all too well executed to be a mere coincidence. For a supposed case of mistaken identity, the countermeasures used against me were entirely too effective. Klaus is realizing what's going on. And it's here we get the goofiest scene I think I've seen in an anime in a really long time. This man starts shooting at Klaus, and Klaus is matrixing this shit. He's blocking everything with the chains. It's ridiculously goofy. And as he runs out of bullet, Klaus says, let me guess. After you failed to run this girl over, you ran into a silver-haired girl wearing a ribbon. That girl then fed you fake intel on us under the guise of sharing rumors. Believing her for some inexplicable reason, you're just stupid I guess, you decided to kidnap us. For your hostage, you chose a black-haired girl you just happened to run into. And you learned our destination from a girl with white hair. Any of this ringing a bell to you as the mobster's just like, Nani? As Klaus tells Erna, this was impressive of you guys. In just 10 days, you've all improved faster than I could have ever imagined. And it's here Klaus says, there's just one thing I want to know. how much longer should I keep playing along with this game? And it's here we suddenly see the windows get smashed in as guns are firing off, girls are jumping around, punching mobsters in the face. It's wild. And we see the girls absolutely making fools of these guys. What's the point of an automatic gun if you can't hit shit with it? You're not a stormtrooper. And as they bust into the bottom of the building to infiltrate it, we even got cocaine in here. What an episode so far. And as they're cutting everyone loose, they tell her, yo, we're sorry, Erna. You gave us more good fortune than we planned for. So we had to improvise on the fly. As Lily tells her, we decided to bet on your ability. I mean, I did try to stop them, of course. Me, naturally. I kept telling them, think how that'll make Erna feel. As Sibley tells her, yo, don't try to cover your own ass here, Lily. And it's here we hear Klaus tell Erna, you know, you really should try to work with the others. Lamplight is like me. The kind of misfortune you bring isn't nearly enough to kill us. Look at me, I'm fucking chained up and I'm still alive. And it's here as we see everything calm down. They're just like, alright, Teach, we finally caught your ass. As Klaus has got to tell him, you guys know I could have died, right? I could have been dead. As Greta tells him, I'm sure it'd take more than a few bullets to kill you, boss. And it's here Thea tells him, oh, by the way, 5 minutes from now, the authorities are going to be here. As Klaus has to tell him, man, you really called the cops on me, huh? Clever. As Lily says, at this rate, they're going to haul you away, Teach. What kind of pathetic spy gets questioned by their own country's police? Kind of true. As we see this man, Klaus, literally just bust out the chains. Just willy-nilly, like, alright, sure, Klaus, you can do anything, man. As Klaus tells him, you still aren't qualified to be my enemies, ladies. And as we transition back to the manor, they're trying to figure out how he did it. Like, first the combination lock, now the chains. How does this man do this? Even though we as the viewer know he has the power of God and anime on his side, obviously. But it's here Erna tells him, I know how he was able to destroy the chains. As she says, when we got captured, Teach used a jewel he had hidden in his mouth to buy off one of the guards. He was just throwing a gemstone, I guess. As she says, he got the man to damage the chains, then he intentionally provoked the guy in charge to get him to open fire. As Siblia says, so he used the bullets to hit the weakened section of the chain, huh? That's convenient. As Erna says, I think he used the same trick to open the combination lock on it. All he had to do was buy one of us off and get them to tell him the code in advance. As Thea says, you know, now that you mention it, there was one person who always chimed in whenever the lock came in the topic. As Annette says, yeah, and someone kept going on about bonds and trust all the time. Who was that? And it's here for no reason at all. They're like, Lily, where'd you get those pastries, by the way? As Lily's just like, look, Teach made me do it. I promise, I didn't want to do it. He said I need to practice lying and all of you needed to doubt your allies. Like, damn, what a great leader I am, accepting my friend's hatred for the good of the team. Look at me go. It definitely wasn't the ridiculously scrumptious snacks that sealed the deal. No way would I be bought with food, ever. And it's here Monica says, you know, I think I got something in store for the traitor over here. As we see that they sent her in to deal with Klaus alone, and of course he mopped the floor with her. But it's here in the process we see that Erna's finally getting closer to everyone else. Which is the real goal of the episode. And with that, the episode ends. And I gotta say, guys, this was a pretty goofy, like, way chiller episode than the past couple have been. And to be honest, I'm down for it. You know, after yesterday, I kind of needed a pick-me-up. So this episode was enjoyable. And like I said, I'm glad that the episode was focused on Erna, who we literally haven't seen at all in the show. She's literally been an enigma. So I'm glad that we finally get to flush her out a bit more. But let me know what you guys thought of it down below. We are finally caught up, and I'm quite happy about that. I don't know why I just did a fucking ninjutsu all of a sudden, but I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below. But until next time, guys, like I said, we're going to do the next episode on Friday because we have Eminence to do tomorrow. So expect episode 5 on Friday. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, and have a blessed day. I'll see you guys.